Michael Vick has an interesting stance on NIL that is really similar to what we've heard other coaches say, but drastically different at the same time. Oh, yeah. It's Locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked on HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now, of course, Sam Darrion Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Make it Locked on HBCU, your first listen of the day, every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off doesn't mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We'll wrap up today's episode with a plea from GA, also from myself, to please get HBCUs more media coverage during the spring. In segment 2, Morgan State women's basketball has found their new head coach, and this coaching hire has an impact that spans very wide. And I'm talking 3 teams, 3 different conferences. But segment 1, Michael Vick is an interesting guy. The more and more I hear him speak, the more and more that I get into his psyche. He's a very interesting guy, and the latest thing that he says that has me interested is his stance on NILs, name, image, and likeness. This is a phenomenon that I don't know what's going on this year. Maybe it's the NCAA tournament and how that has completely turned the event on its head, the amount of number 1 seeds that were in the Final Four, all 4 of them. Maybe it's just more people getting bought out. That's what it feels like. I don't know. But for whatever reason, NIL has been a larger conversation in 2025 than I feel like it has been in the last 3-4 years, right? Like I feel like this is the most I've heard NIL discussed since the first or second year that it existed. That plus the transfer portal, really like the mixture of the two, because I feel like they're kind of synonymous. So I'm meshing the 2 points, to be honest. But NIL has been a talking point, especially recently for us. I think we've talked about NIL 2, maybe 3 days in a row. But anyway, his stance on NILs is that Michael Vick will push a player out of the room for him to take the money. That's interesting. I've never heard that dedication to the cause, because what you'll typically hear is frustration. And this is now isolating HBCU coaches who are talking about this. You'll hear frustration because a lot of your players will leave because you don't have the finances to keep them. Okay. But then sometimes you hear understanding, where it's like, look, the bag too big. I understand that you couldn't turn it down. But Michael Vick is taking it to another level of, you better not turn it down. And that's not something that I'm used to hearing from HBCU coaches. Let me give you exactly what he said. It's a few quotes. Let me give you exactly what he said so that you're not just getting my synopsis of it and only my synopsis of it. I want to give you the exact quote and then how I took it so that maybe you feel a little differently. But he's talking about players who would leave. He says, if you go win the MEAC, make all conference first team, and Clemson comes calling and offers you some money, I can't tell you no. They're offering you some bread. I don't think that that's a hot take. I don't think the idea of a Norfolk State defensive end getting 15 sacks, winning player of the year, and then Clemson coming to call is some weird reality that we've never seen before. I fully believe that could happen. That I fully expect that to happen to somebody. If it's not Norfolk State, if it's not Clemson, it'll be somebody on the HBCU ranks. I just seen Andrew Jones win defensive player of the year, co-defensive player of the year, and he went ahead and made it to the SEC. I'm trying to see what happened with Malachi Bailey. I know he didn't win the other co-MVP, but I know he entered the portal. Oh, he's still visiting people. Okay. Oh no, he's going to Arizona. He's going to Arizona. Anyway, it didn't really matter, so I wasn't paying attention to that. But Michael Vick was pretty measured there. Then he gets a little bit higher and higher on it. He says, when somebody come and call you and say, I got 700,000, you better take it. The only thing I can do is match it. The only thing we can do is get in the game. I think that's even understandable. But he said, you better take it. I've never heard that stance. The last thing is, I told a couple of players that, and they be like, nah, coach, I want to be with you. And I'm like, all right, if somebody come calling and got 700,000, let's see then. He says, I'm going to be pushing you out. I'm proud of you. You earned that. We all know we are one play away from not having a career. I'm going to make sure I always encourage that. This is so fascinating because I wonder if Michael Vick will have this stance 3 years into his coaching career, 3 years into being at Norfolk State, and you're developing players who are leaving because they are getting a bag. I wonder if he would. I think he easily could, but that's something I would like to revisit in a few seasons when NIL starts to take your players, because he is correct. Everybody is one play away from never playing the game of football again. No matter how good you are, injuries can happen to anybody. Career-ending injuries can happen to anybody. And Michael Vick is on the stance of making sure you have financial security and also making sure you have financial security in case anything happens. I think the realistic part of it is most of those kids have never seen $500,000 placed in front of their face. That's never happened. I think the majority of those kids, if you walk up with $500,000 and place it in front of their face and say, we can give you this over the course of the next 3 years, they're taking it. And Michael Vick is real with that. When he says, all right, you say you want to stay with me now, but let somebody come offer you 700,000 and let's see if you change your tune. When he says that, that's real. Because I think everybody wants to stay with Michael Vick when there's not the other option to leave for X amount of dollars. So I think that's realistic. But what if they see that money and they still want to stay? Michael Vick said, I'm not letting you. I'm pushing you out the door. I've never heard that part. That is, for it to work, you would have to really trust your development. You would have to really trust your recruiting. And I think that Michael Vick's desire to move to the big leagues impacts this. Because if they come and offer him the bag, he's gone. Which I'm not criticizing. Just be very clear. I don't think anything is wrong with that. If they offer me the bag, I'd probably go too. Not everybody wants to say, I'm just going to stay here the whole time. The bag that can help me support my family is a very enticing offer because things are bigger than football. What Michael Vick is talking about is bigger than football. But I do think the idea that he's already verbalized that he plans to be here for a little bit and then get to the P4 level, I think that impacts this. Like, the way you think about topic A can easily affect topic B, which affects topic C, especially when they're all under the same umbrella. The way you think about your coaching journey can impact the way that you think about the NIL, which can impact the way that you think about what decisions that players can make. That's not crazy. That's all under the same umbrella of larger schools, larger opportunities, larger bags. And with this stance, it's difficult for me to disagree because I'll never stand in the way of anybody. Like, I'm not in a position, but if I were a coach, I'm not standing in the way or harboring ill will for anybody who decides to take a paycheck. I'm really not, because there's things that are bigger than football. But I don't know if somebody told me they don't want to take it if I'm saying, boy, you better take it. I don't know if I'm going that far. And in a way, this is such a selfless move that I won't criticize. I can't criticize the thought process. I may wonder if he'll keep it, but I can't criticize it because it's such a selfless thought process because it puts you behind the 8 ball again. Let your quarterback get 700,000 from Clemson, and now you got to find a new starting QB, or let a couple of your offensive linemen get 300, 400,000. Is this a plea to Norfolk State to get in the NIL game? I hope not, because you're not competing with Clemson. We talked about this on yesterday's episode. If you want to compete in the NIL game, you should be competing against people who are on your status. You shouldn't be competing with people who are above your status. They got too big a bag for that. So I don't know. He says we're gonna have to get in the game. You can't get you just can't do it. Some things you can't do. You know, that's like me getting in a tip off with Wimby, excuse me. Like, that's really what it is. I sit here 5'9.5". I extend my arm all the way up. I'm probably maybe at his chin. Maybe. I can't get in a tip off with Wimby. So asking them to get in the game when the competition is Clemson, unrealistic. Just being honest with you. But I like this. I like this stance. I don't like this stance. Michael Vick's NIL stance is very similar to what we've heard other coaches say. Hey, if you got to go get the bag, go get the bag. I'm not even mad at you. But where it differs is the fact that he said you better take the bag. And if you don't, I'm pushing you out the door. That comes with a lot of problems. I don't know if he understands that yet. In year 3, when he's lost a couple of players to NIL, I wonder if he takes that same selfless stance. Selfless stance. I want to praise the mentality. But, man, it comes with some challenges. Now, as we push forward, speaking of impactful decisions, Nadine Domond has taken the Morgan State job, and she is leaving Virginia State. I want to break down how this impacts more than just those schools as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel is the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm recording this before the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lucas versus the Dallas Luca-less Mavericks, but I wonder what that game is going to look like. I wonder if Luka covers the over. I expect him to, and I hope that you put some money down on him. If you did, put down about $5 if you're new to FanDuel, and it wins. You get $250 back in bonus bets. I can give you this type of assistance, this type of suggestion, because it's already happened. It's already happened at this point. But I think that's a good one to put your money down on. Maybe you just want to go team for team. You don't want to go player. Maybe you want to get into baseball. Maybe you want to talk about the NFL draft. All of those things are there. It's just on you. If you want to go to make a little bit of extra money, go to FanDuel.com. And now they're giving you the offer of $250 back in bonus bets if you put down your first $5 bet and it wins. You have to be new to FanDuel. However, go to FanDuel.com and make every moment more. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On NFL Draft. All of the biggest stories leading up to the biggest event of the NFL offseason can be covered right there. So wherever you listen or watch your podcast, make sure that you are checking them out. The Morgan State hire has a real ripple effect, and it impacts more than just those two schools. This is a 3-team, 3-conference impact, and I'll break down the two up front, but I'll give the surprise or the one that's probably a little bit more under the radar at the end of the segment, because I want to first focus on Morgan State and also Virginia State. The Bears have found their new women's basketball head coach in the form of Nadine Domond, and she comes over with a great level of success. I felt this coming earlier in the day because you see her say, or you see the report from Live for Hoops. Man, when I tell you Live for Hoops has been doing a phenomenal job. If you do not follow her, I'm serious. You need to change that today. And I'm sure if you're watching me, you're probably already following her. But if for some reason you just found me today, you just happen to stumble into the HBCU space and you are interested, thank you. First off. Secondly, go ahead and follow Liv, because this offseason, she's been really breaking some news. And this was one of the pieces of news that she broke. It was that Domond had chosen to step down as the Virginia State head coach. As soon as I saw that, I said, Morgan State, here we come. Morgan State, here we come. The job had been open for a little bit. Ed Davis retired after a lengthy career, after being a legend. So when you're replacing somebody who has been around for so long, I like to call them pillars because they've been there for so long, that hold up the program. You want to go get somebody with a good track record. I don't think you want to go with a trial. I don't think you want to do that. You want to go with somebody you have the utmost confidence in. It's kind of like Norfolk State. They went to go get Jermaine Woods, which was good because you've seen him have success in the MEAC. There's something tangible you can grab onto. That's kind of how I feel about succeeding a coach that has been there for 10 plus years. This guy, this girl has been there forever. Everybody knows her. There's a comfortability there. You need something that says, okay, we're in good hands afterwards. Not, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of we'll see what happen hires that end up being good. I don't want to criticize those. We'll see what happened can end up being a Super Bowl, can end up being a conference championship, can end up being a first four win. It can end up being an upset somewhere during your regular season. We'll see what happens. Could be a lot of things. But I wanted to go with somebody comfortable, and that's what Nadine Domond gives me. She gives me somebody who has been around for a long time. Let's get into the three-team impact of it all. So Domond comes over from Virginia State, and the number one impact she'll have is on Morgan State. Like, that's just clear as new glass that she will impact that team more than she'll impact anybody else. Maybe you could argue maybe she'll impact the team that she left as much. But I'm going to focus on the positive impact, which comes in the form of Morgan State getting a true winner. I like, personally, this is a personal preference, but I like when coaches have success quickly. I like when I've seen that in your track record, because success is great. You'll never turn that down. I want success first. But if I can have success quickly, that's even better, because it makes me feel like you're going to do that here. And I understand that sometimes you just have to be in the right place. With Domond, it's a little bit different. With Domond, she's been successful quickly in two different places. She's been successful quickly in the SWAC, and she's also been successful quickly in a CIAA. And that is the important part, is that, yes, this is a new conference, but I don't have to be like, oh, well, maybe that just happened at Virginia State. I don't have to say that, because I've seen it also happen at Grambling. So if I've seen it happen at Grambling, mid-major level, if I've seen it happen at Virginia State, I think I can feel confident that I'll have success with her in the first couple of years at Morgan State as well. So let me go through what that success looked like. At Grambling, she was the coach of the year in year 2. I didn't need to look up any further the numbers or what happened. She was the coach of the year in year 2. That means she either had a big turnaround from year 1 to 2. I'll take it. Or she was the best team in the conference, or she was a surprise team in the conference. I'll take that as well. I'll be the best team in the conference. I'll be the surprise team in the conference. I'll be a big jump from year 1 to 2. I'll do all of those things. So regardless, you just go through the criteria of why someone could win coach of the year. Go through it. Turnaround, unexpected success, the highest level of success. Like, what are the other reasons that people overcoming odds? Like, you just think of all the reasons that somebody could become coach of the year. You don't need to know the specific case in that season, but just think about them. All the ones you could think of, you'll take that on your team 10 times out of 10. No matter what it is, you'll always take that on your team. So I wanted to highlight that because I thought that was good, and she won it in her second year at Grambling. At Virginia State, it doesn't always have to be turnarounds. Like I said, she won coach of the year in year 3. Oh, wow. She took one more year. I guess she got to complete the trifecta and went in the first year at Morgan State. I don't know. Like the fact that she won coach of the year in this previous year, this was year 3, and the year that her final year at Virginia State, that is also a testament. That is also a testament, because prior to winning coach of the year, you still had a really good season. So the first year, you were a 12-win team. That's not great, but you do improve your conference record from the year prior if you want to compare her to the previous regime. But I prefer to just keep it at who she was, or who they were when she was there. Virginia State was a 12-win team with an 8-8 conference record. You go from being a 12-win overall team to winning 13 games in conference the following year, 14 games in conference the year after that. The last 2 seasons that she was leading the Trojans, they were a 20-win team. I'm sorry. I want my coaches with expectations. Everybody doesn't have that, but I want my coaches with expectations. For some, you'll have hype. For some, but I want my coaches to step into the room, and I want you to say, oh, I expect this to happen because this happened elsewhere. That, to me, is a sign of confidence. That is a sign of comfortability. To each his own, but that's something that I do desire, because, made it to the big dance this past year. I'm not expecting her to win the MEAC year 1, but I am expecting her to win the MEAC at some point. Virginia State, you lose all of the good things I just said. But secondly, you also lose the developmental factor. And I didn't want to just give all the aspects of her coaching to Morgan State because this does impact Virginia State. And when you look at it, the Trojans had the defensive player of the year, had a couple of players on the all-conference team, personal development as well as success. With her, you went to the semifinals, then the finals. You had development and you had wins. You're going to lose culture by losing Nadine Domond. Simple and plain. So the last school that's impacted that you may not think about is Alabama A&M, because I was weary on whether or not I would even record my episode, how early I would record my episode on Monday, because Dawn Thornton was the first team or the first coach that I saw thrown around with this team that she may take this job. That was a tad bit concerning to me because if you're Alabama A&M, you don't want to lose your coach immediately. Like I'm talking about, you just got this coach and now I'm already about to lose her. That's no bueno. We just got to be honest about it. That is no bueno. And that would have been a crushing loss because you're feeling great after what Dawn Thornton did in her first year. To lose, you felt great about the hire. Then she came and proved you right. To lose her after a year to go to the MEAC, I think that would have been a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. So for Alabama A&M, they get to keep their coach. They get to build on top of that. They don't have to go through the process of starting over again. They don't have to go through a lot of the things that would have came with losing your head coach. And honestly, you'd have been sitting there hoping like, man, what else do I do? Does Paul A. Bryant pull another rabbit out of the hat? He already did it with Thornton. So I think that this was good for them. This was bad for Virginia State, and this was great for Morgan State. Now, as we push forward, one thing that I need, GA needs, we all need it, is we need more coverage for our HBCUs during spring practice. We do. We demand it. I'm going to tell you why as we continue with Locked On HBCU. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. Now, there's not a lot of coverage for HBCU spring practices. And to me, that is a shame. And GA, Mr. Big Bad Brave, if y'all don't follow on Twitter, one half of the host or one half of the SWAC and the Fool podcast, but he put out a tweet, what would be, I guess, yesterday for me, but it'll be 2 days ago by the time you hear this. And this is his complaint about the Alcorn spring practice. It's actually more about the athletic director specifically, but he says not a single video or piece of content about spring practice, not a single interview about spring practice, still don't have a basketball coach, not a single baseball content, but my AD is on Facebook Live streaming a probate. I don't know why, but seeing that just ran me hot. I know why, because it's malpractice. Look, I don't know who was crossing. Do what you do. I ain't trying to knock the probate. Big deal. Shout out to everybody who crossed this semester, right? I got a homeboy who got a, anyway, I'm about to get. The point is, as an athletic director, there is no reason you should be more concerned with making sure people see the probate than seeing what is going on with your team. You have fans, you have alumni, like you have people to cater to. And in my opinion, this is not an Alcorn issue. Now, the fact that nothing is happening at Alcorn and they're also streaming the probate, that is an Alcorn issue. That is specifically an athletic director issue at Alcorn. That is an issue that he specifically spoke to for a reason. But that first half of what he said, not a single video or piece of content about spring practice, not a single interview about spring practice. It's not difficult. I know all of you have students who are part of the media. I know that to be the case. And if you don't, malpractice again. When I was at Texas Southern, we had one reporter. Now, I hated that they made her do everything because I was my dog. But I can guarantee you it would be nothing to send her out there to spring practice. It'd be nothing. I don't know all what her job entailed and all of that other good stuff, but the idea that you can't get any spring practice reports up, I think is criminal. Maybe not a write-up because that may require more dedication to actually go to the practices and all week and X, Y, and Z. But I firmly believe that as an HBCU, you do not have people covering you on a consistent basis. You just simply don't. Your local media probably disregards you unless you're a few schools. I use a database for our thumbnails. In their school, Mickey Joseph was the head coach of Grambling all year. There's not a single picture of him on the Grambling website or the Grambling on the Grambling sidelines on that website. Not a single one. Mickey Joseph, the head coach of Grambling. Mickey Joseph was a big deal when he got hired. The entirety of the year, there is never a single picture of him on the Grambling sidelines, not a single picture of him with Grambling. I don't even use him in a thumbnail because the only picture I have is him with Nebraska. This is what we deal with on a consistent basis. And as a university, you have to be better. As a university, you have to understand that nobody is covering you. People like me want to talk about you, but I can't when nothing's being said. When there's nothing being reported about spring practice, do you know how hard it is to cover that? What am I to say? I can't tell you that the quarterback is looking good. I can't tell you that the offensive line on the first team is strong. I can't tell you any of these things. Never seen. Never seen. So to me, it's disappointing. To me, it's disappointing because if you want people to know what's going on, you should want people to know what's going on. I don't care if it's Alcorn, North Carolina Central. I don't care if it's Morgan State. I don't care if it's A&T. I don't care if it's FAMU. I don't care if it's Clark Atlanta. I don't care if it's Virginia Union. You should have somebody who can write about what you are doing once a week. Spring practice is about 4 weeks. Give me one report every Friday. It's not difficult. Give me an interview once a week. Let me talk to the head coach 1 week. Let me talk to the DC 1 week, the OC the next week. Let me talk to a player 1 week. It's not a difficult process. And don't have this solely be on Instagram and Twitter. That's not fair either. Put it on the website. Put it everywhere, but have the write-ups on the website, have the interviews on Instagram and Twitter. It's not a difficult process. I'm not good with this, and I don't think that that's a great plan. I think that is a more than a bare minimum plan. But GA, SWAC and the fool, talk about it, man. Talk about it, because that's disgusting. That's distasteful. Streaming a probate, but I don't know what's going on with baseball, basketball, or football. Are you an athletic director? Is that your job? Because I don't know about anything athletic directing happening at the probate. On tomorrow's episode, we got Gerald Huggins. I'm about to sit down with him in T-minus 55 minutes from recording this episode to talk about some draft prospects. We got three guys for you. So we'll catch up with you tomorrow, 6:30 Central Time. So in the meantime, in between time, until the next time we hear each other, family, it's draft season. Take care. Stay blessed. Peace.